Let's get into our first story now. And the minority in parliament is demanding the immediate sacking of state officials responsible for allowing American rapper Meek Mill to shoot a video at the Jubilee House. There has been widespread public condemnation of the video. Meek Mill was in Ghana to perform at the Afro Nation concert and also took advantage to meet President Akufo-Addo at the Jubilee House. Minority spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa says officials who looked on for the video to be shot must be fired.
We're going to go very, very far. We are not going to let this matter slide at all. We will insist that there is an investigation. We will insist that all of those who masterminded this national disgrace and international embarrassment are brought to book. You can expect that we will continue to push as the House remains on recess, committee to be looking into this matter. When the House returns, we will raise this matter on the floor and we will, in carrying out our constitutional mandate, insist that heads roll, sanctions are meted out, lessons are learned, and the whole image of our presidency is protected. This is despicable. It's a of the collective image, everything the people hold dear. Listen to the lyrics. Those who have argued that perhaps this was a marketing opportunity to promote Ghana, go listen to the lyrics. No mention of Ghana and the explicit content. How our women are even, the sexism, the misogyny, I mean, the swear words. Nothing in that content promotes Ghana, projects Ghana. So please spare me the hogwash about marketing, about promoting Ghana. It doesn't hold. Look, anybody who watches this video in the international arena will rather be disgusted and will say, what country is that? I want to go there. I don't want to be part of them. Which country will open the seat of government, will give its lectern, its presidential lectern, its presidential podium for such explicit content, for these totally offensive lyrics to be matted out? This is horrible. It's horrendous. And that's why I am shocked that up to now, nobody has been fired, and we haven't seen a statement from the president apologizing to the Ghanaian people. This has brought shame to the Ghanaian people. And look, this presidency should show the Ghanaian people some respect. Yes. And you see, it exposes their mindset. You think Shatawale, Stoneboy, any Ghanaian artist will get this kind of access? McMill himself, have they seen him have this access at the White House? I mean, it's unbelievable. Which Ghanaian artist will have this opportunity at any country, and to put out such explicit content, such unacceptable lyrics? I am so.
Well, former Chief of Staff Prosper Bani says, though it is a great idea to have people from the diaspora visit the president, presidential staffers should ensure the presidency is respected.
I subscribe to the beyond the return policy. I have no questions about that. But the way we operationalize it, and as far as it refers to the seat of government, I have an issue. One, I think that we should keep the seat of government as a security space. And that's how we manage this, the space under President John Dramani Mahama. It was one that was dignified. It was one that had respect, and that you couldn't come to the staff house when I was chief of staff to see the president in summer shorts, in t-shirts, and not properly dressed to meet the highest office holder of this land. Secondly, there are certain activities You cannot undertake within the space of the presidency and to record a video, a musical video around sensitive places in the space of the president is rather unfortunate, and I disagree with it completely. In addition to that, we considered the Flagstaff House as a security zone. One, it is with permission that you bring in your phone, and if you brought in your phone, it's not always that we allow you to take pictures or make recordings. Secondly, when you bring in a video recording instrument, we interrogate the program and ensure that you have limited space, and that your objective of bringing in the camera was limited to covering the president and the presidency, nothing else. And if we allow anyone to abuse this security trust, then this whole country is open up for various types of threats.
I was just asking you.
Now, public sector workers are demanding an extension of the cost of living allowance following the expiration of the previous one. Government agreed to a 15% COLA for public sector workers in August last year to cushion them against the economic hardships. But that package expired in December 2022. President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Frank Serebour, says they don't expect the payment of the allowance this month.
Issue of COLA has not even been discussed, and as we speak, January, essentially COLA would not be paid because we have not agreed on the fact that COLA should be paid, because COLA was supposed to end in December. So the 15% will go off, and if we are not able to conclude, that would essentially mean that the salaries of public sector workers will see a 15% dip, and so we need to conclude.
Now, President of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association, Perpetual Ofori-Amanfo, expects the allowance to be paid.
We are expecting is for the COLA to run until we are done with the base pay negotiations, and then the directive is given to controller to implement. Then I think we'll have some peace. But if it's taken out, I bet you there are going to be agitations all over, and I don't think we are ready for that. We are expecting that we will not see any things done in the background that will affect our bonds in terms of their reach of maturity and the payment of coupons that needs to be done. We are expecting that all those coupons will be paid as soon as they mature.
Now, the National Road Safety Authority is blaming the Department of Urban Roads for the increasing number of dysfunctional traffic lights in the country. Data available from the National Road Safety Authority indicates that as of June 2022, 48% of traffic lights were dysfunctional across the country. Head of Regulations, Inspection and Compliance at the National Road Safety Authority, Kwame Kodie-Tiahene, says the problem persists because the department has not demonstrated enough commitment to solving the problem.
But beyond the communication that have come to us with no timelines, and I think you confirm that they haven't shown as much passion, and I say this with a lot of regret. I mean, we all come into public service with a desire to make things better for the generality of the public. And if these are matters that have been on the front line for many months, and the Department of Urban Roads appear to be very cagey and not want to address them, and always creating discomfort for motorists, it makes it very difficult for us to achieve our overall targets.
Okay.
Nonetheless, yes, the letter that was written to them, the first opportunity we had was to issue the notice, which we have done. We gave a 60-day ultimatum. They got back to us with some remedial actions. We want to go back to see whether there has been any improvement or not. In the interim, we plan to work with the municipalities, at least for the peak periods of the morning and the evening, where these traffic lights are still down. Is there a way that they could deploy traffic wardens to help improve the situation? If yes, we may be happy to work with them along those lines.
Well, in our final story, the Africa Faith and Justice Network has engaged members of the Bokurugu community in the Kumbungu district of the northern region on how to address child marriage. The Bokurugu community is one of the communities with high incidence of early and forced marriage in the northern region. Martin Abugri reports the AFJN is educating residents to help change their mindset.
The African Faith and Justice Network is running a women empowerment program. Part of the program deals with early child marriage and forced marriages. Some communities were identified in the northern region for advocacy work to be done. The AFJN first met with elders of the community in Bakurugu to understand issues that are prompting them to force their children into early and forced marriages. The parents put the blame on the youth.
They go out to school and other places where parents are not there to control them. Before you know, they get pregnant. It is not our wish that they get married, but they are the one causing it.
To get a fair understanding of the situation, the AFJN team decided to meet with the youth, but they also blamed their parents for forcing them into these marriages.
Forced marriage, the problem is coming from the parents. I would like to say the problem is coming from the parents. Why? Because when the children are still attending school, some of the parents normally force them to marriage, especially if you're having a child and you know the child doesn't have any work to do, and you are asking the child to give you 2 sleeves or 1 sleeve, and you know the child does not have any work to do, definitely the child will go out and look for money. Where can she get the money?
It has been our difficult situation here, and then this thing has been happening because of, like, to me, what I've experienced is poverty. At times our parents wish to help, but there's no enough money. And then, you know, as we ladies, as we grow, especially when we get to the teenage ages, adolescent ages, we wish to look beautiful and those things. And then men also come along, give us unnecessary things that don't speculate to convince us and then lead us into that together marriage. And then when we get pregnant, what I've realized is that when we get pregnant, we the young ladies, we are not able to go to school again.
Director in charge of AFJN Ghana, Ignatia Safua Boabin, who spoke to JoyNews, said child marriage and forced marriage is beyond tradition. There were other factors contributing.
We came to meet the people, the elders, on how best early child and forced marriage can end. But when we came, it took a different thing altogether. We saw that the community or their tradition, which used to be, is no more. That the problem, as we saw, was there is still early marriage, early childhood marriage. But the problem was not that the tradition was given to, they were given into it. They all based it on the children or the youth. And at that time, the youth.
That's it for the news. Stay with us for the news review. Up next. Thank you for staying. Time now for us to get into the news review. We are joined by Selom Dramani Dramado. He is Convener Justice for Ghana. Selom, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you.
Good to have you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I think it's only fitting that we wish the best to each other.
Exactly. And then to your...
Since it's the first time we're meeting.
This is the first time. This is the first time meeting you in person for so many years of having our friendship on virtual. Today we are establishing it on an actual level now, no longer virtual.
Right. Right before we get into the papers, though, I'd like to pick your thoughts on some trending matters. The first being the video shot by Meek Mill and the furore around it. I've seen two different schools of thought. Some who say this is much ado about nothing. Basically, yes, some access was given to the person, but it was in a bid to get more people coming to Ghana to know that we're hospitable, we are receptive, and we're willing to boost tourism. The other school of thought is that this was a total meltdown in terms of security, our security apparatus at, I nearly said the White House, at the Jubilee House, our seat of government, and that this was simply a faux pas, something that never should have happened. What's your reaction? What's your take on that matter?
So I think to even describe it as a faux pas is an understatement. This is no. It's not a faux pas. A faux pas would just mean that reducing it to something like a peccadillo, like a minor mistake on the part of somebody. This is not a faux pas on the part of those who allowed the gentleman to use our presidency for that video shooting. It is not. Look, Justice for Ghana has been dragged to court for merely, intending to demonstrate or picket at the Revolution Square, okay, which is just directly opposite the Jubilee House. The police constantly told us that they have classified the Revolution Square as a security zone. All right?
It is a security zone.
Okay.
At least from what we know.
I reluctantly accept that place is a security zone. Even if it's a security zone at all, I suspect because of its proximity to the presidency.
Right.
So a group of Ghanaians, just about 20 of us wanted to picket there to give the president a ringside view of the realities on the ground. Because to all intents and purposes, it is clear that the president has been taking leave of us from time to time, meaning he's not here with us on the planet Earth. He's moved now to inhabit planet Mars. Because when you look at some...
I don't think there's any record of the president traveling to Mars. And it would take quite a bit of time to actually get to Mars.
And because I'm saying this thing, particularly your background as somebody who is well-versed in metaphor, when I say...
I know, but for the sake of those who may not catch the literary tools you are using,
yes,
we might as well have you break it down because you are using them.
Thank you. So the president isn't here with us. That is why...
Suggesting literally that the president is out of touch?
Completely out of touch. Completely out of touch with the realities on the ground. So you can... And those things reflect. What I'm saying today, it reflects in the decisions that the president continues to make. That the president is completely out of touch with the realities on the ground. The president has decided to dwell now on an ivory tower. Which is why he's far removed, he's detached from the harsh realities on the ground.
Okay, let's quickly go back to... So I think we
have kind of digressed a bit into that.
You spoke about the Revolutionary Square. You spoke about you together with a few of your members, about 20 of you, not being allowed
members of Justice for Ghana.
Yes, not being allowed to picket. Yet, what is the problem then if Meek Mill does what he did and even uses it for a video?
A video, correct. You see, it comes with all sort of security ramifications for this country. And it's, for want of a better word, that is outright desecration of, the highest office of the land.
You're using the same words Okudzeto Ablakwa used.
He used it.
Right.
But that is what it is. It's a desecration. You understand? Because that is the embodiment of whatever Ghana aspires to be and whatever Ghana stands for. That is what it is. So to allow a musician to use that place for a video shoot is just like opening us up for some attack. You know, especially given the police constant refrain. When you want to demonstrate, they tell you that the sub-region is full of, terrorists now. So demonstrating around the presidency would be kind of exposing the presidency to some attack. So when you look at that and this, but at the heart of this thing, there's something I have realized. At the core of it, it's avarice and provincialism.
Avarice?
Yes, and provincialism.
Please explain.
Thank you. You see, those in power today, they have an insatiable appetite for making money, unbridled interest in making money, which is why some of these things are being allowed in our country.
Are you suggesting, I wouldn't say sovereignty, but our dignity was sold for money? And what would back this assertion? You would need some evidence to be able to make such assertion.
It is observably clear, even if what I'm alleging here, what I'm alleging here.
I'm glad you're using the word.
Yes, because that is what, that is why I will ask you to do some independent verification of my claim to see whether some, something has been traded, you understand? Whether there has been some horse trading. Okay, come and do the video shoot here. This is what we are going to take from you. I'm saying to you that those in power today have an unbridled, appetite or desire to make money. Where the avarice actually
you're
comes
making from the standpoint of an allegation. But while we could also delve further into it, do you have any evidence to back your claim?
I don't have any substantiation for what I'm saying, but as somebody who has been around a bit and has have studiously and rigorously studied this government, I can say with heart on hand that something definitely, monetary, has informed that thing. And it's not only the avarice, the provincialism, that typical, this is somebody from America, let's give you access so we can also, you understand, that's why I label it as provincialism. Like Kofeto, like a typical Kokoasie kind of thing.
Rustic.
You understand? Yeah, rustic, that's it. Rustic. Okay, so he's from America, let's give him access. So we are also hobnob with him. You understand? So we can show it to our children one day that this gentleman came to Ghana and I was moving with him when I was working at the presidency. That kind of thing. And our country cannot be reduced to that level of provincialism. It cannot. We cannot accept that. This one, it's totally repugnant. And we must call out those who allowed the gentleman to use that place for his video shoot.
So you're basically surmising, conjecturing, guessing in a way that on the back of the access that was given to Meek Mill, the American rapper, that there must have been something, whether either way for personal gain of some people, whether monetarily or just so people would be seen to be hanging out with this character. But do you think, maybe it's an extension of it, but let's be honest as a people, when people of foreign extraction come to this country and all the bit about, hey, Bernice, and I find that repugnant, but we do it. We do it in all corners of our national, whether it is business.
Yeah.
I have seen people who work for our government see foreigners, some of them may be less qualified than they are, and act all, hero worship and all of that. So is it anything new? Is it something condemnable, especially when I don't do it, and maybe because of the background I had, but practically every Ghanaian does it. I don't do it from the highest echelons of leadership to the last person. We worship in a way, and then we'll turn around and say it is hospitality, but sometimes it is just bootlicking.
That's it.
So should we be condemning our leaders when they are merely reflecting in a way what we do?
Of course, because you see, when we queue, or even before we queue to vote, we have individuals who are candidates who come around canvassing votes or canvassing for support to win our hearts and minds. So it's an opportunity for us as the electorate to choose the best and brightest. You understand? Those who would think that they have distinguished themselves among us to be our leaders. You understand? So when, for instance, a typical Kokoasie person elected somebody like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to be the president of this country, that person had his mind that Nana Akufo-Addo has gained some degree of exposure, and therefore will not stoop that low in situations like this, especially his handlers. You understand? That is why I said that whatever happened at the Jubilee House, which led to this gentleman using the place for his video shoot, was actually actuated by avarice and provincialism. I maintain that, and I maintain it strongly, with hand on heart.
Well,
yes.
I guess it is what it is, and the reactions have come.
And head must roll. You see, we shouldn't just leave it at this. You see, that is one problem I have with Ghanaians. Elsewhere, there would have been some protests at the frontage of Jubilee House.
I mean, it comes to think of it, I cannot imagine this happening, definitely not at the White House, definitely not at, which I do not know. It was said that the pulpit that was used by Meek Mill wasn't the official one used by the president, by the way, but I do not know,
You believe that?
Not in
you believe that?
Nigeria, and we tend to put ourselves head and shoulder above Nigeria and make it appear in terms of democratic practice. Somehow we are far better. But not in any of the democracies I know or places I've been to would I think that such a thing would happen, unless there were some direct linkages, something clearly organized by the state for a certain purpose.
Exactly.
But in this case, that wasn't it. So this comes out appearing to be almost a bit of a leak.
Yes.
But like I said, it has happened. So for you, if some heads roll, that would at least show some seriousness in this. That should be your final point.
Yes, and you know, before those heads on their own will not roll. It is incumbent on you and I to mount pressure on those heads to roll. You understand? Because they have desecrated and degraded the highest office of the land, which is repugnant and highly reprehensible.
I also
must rule.
I also noticed that Stonebwoy got some flack as well. I hear when Meek Mill posted, and I saw the post, he posted 2 fire emojis. And you know what that usually means. And people, after taking on the presidency, took him on, basically because they felt he had been lending some, how would I put it? Almost saying, you know, bravo, and way to go, and all of that. And people took him on. I didn't see him react, and you cannot determine for him what the fire emojis mean. But usually, in the context, when you use something like that, it means you are sort of, in a way, Charlie, like more fire.
More fire.
You know, kind of. And people took him on. I don't know whether I've seen Stonebwoy, if I'm not mistaken. Shatta has been to the presidency. Yeah. I've seen Stonebwoy do same. They just didn't get the same access that Meek Mill got. Just to wrap on that subject, so 2 comments I want to take. Fatai Rashid says in the live stream, it's okay, aren't you tired of talking about Meek Mill? Move on to more important stories. Fatai, you may be missing the point, but this is a crucial matter of national security that you may be overlooking, but we could pardon your thinking that it's just something to gloss over. I'll reserve my comments, but at least I've reflected yours in all fairness. Sure. Philip Abuchi says, good morning. It is very heartbreaking the president has allowed foreigners to organize a show at the... Okay, so that wasn't the comment I wanted to take. This one is from Solomon Rene, who says, sad. Most citizens of Ghana are afraid to speak out owing to the fear of retaliation. I wrote a letter to the government of Ghana. No one addressed my concerns about the poor service of water in Koforidua. Some days going with clean water with this pandemic going on. Response, please. Okay, so I had to take that because this is obviously someone who has a situation in his community, Solomon Rene. I don't know which entity you'd addressed your letter to, but maybe you might want to follow up since it's early days in the year. Salom, let's get into the papers now, just a few of them, and pursue the conversation from there. Okay. The Daily Graphic this morning says, consolidating democratic gains, reject violent politicians. The NCCE says so. Pictured there, Kathleen Addy, chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. Kathleen, if you happen to be watching us this morning, a very good morning to you and Happy New Year. Long time no see. Now, the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, Kathleen Addy, has called on Ghanaians to reject politicians who resort to the use of violence and disruptive tendencies to gain political power as the country heads to the 2024 general election. Ms. Addy said perpetrators of political violence should no longer be allowed any space to operate because Apart from posing serious security threats to the country, their activities denied the citizenry of the right leaders who could help consolidate the country's democracy. She made the call at a media engagement organized by the NCC in Accra last Saturday to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Fourth Republic and the National Constitution Day. So what do you make of this, this thought being espoused by Kathleen Addy, Ms. Kathleen Addy, and what would you say have been the boons of our 1992 Constitution 30 years on?
The boons of our 1992 Constitution. Okay, so that is the peace we have had since the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution. That's the major boon. That's the major boon. And then the peaceful transitions of one administration to the other. That's another boon.
But the Constitution itself, the 1992 Constitution by itself, hasn't guaranteed us peace. It's yes, you would say the institutions it's set up, but it is, I guess it is the sheer will of the people and trying to stick to certain tenets, maybe not necessarily the Constitution. No Constitution fosters violence.
No Constitution fosters violence, but there are constitutions that can, foster violence. Because you remember during the apartheid, there was a constitution.
Right.
No, there was a constitution.
The
apartheid system was predicated on a constitution. Okay, but that constitution was not in sync with the majority of the people, especially the blacks. You understand? So there was a constant strive on the part of the blacks to change the system because of the nature of the constitution in place at the time, which was fueling, or which was actually the bulwark of the apartheid system. So if you have a constitution in Ghana today that does not, encourage, treating some segment of society as inferior or as second-class citizen, bro, that constitution can be the boon of the kind of things we enjoy today. Yes. I thought we would be mentioning the beans and the boons and the beans. So we are now from the boon. I'm actually interested.
What then for you are the beans? What are the downsides of our Constitution?
The bean is actually, and it reflects very much in this administration, where you realize that the democracy in itself, I'm almost going to sound contradictory, but I will try not to sound contradictory. The democracy in itself, as this government or this administration has been in power now, shows that we've got certain things to do, okay? So you may have a democracy that will allow an autocrat to come to power, and that autocrat may, because of his or her inclinations or penchant, will want to use some weaknesses in the Constitution to establish the autocracy. And that is exactly what we are witnessing now. That's what we are witnessing now. This is usually when those...
Are you then suggesting we have an autocratic democracy at play?
That will be contradiction in terms.
It will be, but it wouldn't be mutually exclusive, because
I don't suggest so.
It is possible, from what you're suggesting, it would mean that our democracy, in a way, fosters authoritarianism, which would then mean that the two can be seen to be married to a certain extent, even as we have our democratic practice.
Exactly.
Yesterday, I had a discussion with some guests, and I mentioned that our brand of democracy, because there is democracy, the overarching idea of governance of the people, by the people, and for the people, in its purest form. And then there are the various applications by different institutions across the world.
Exactly.
What you would find in India is different from what you would find in Rwanda.
Sure.
What you would find in Ghana is slightly different. There are shades of difference.
And nuances.
So what then are you trying to say? I, for example, have always contended that our Constitution gives the executive far too many powers.
Sure.
So on that score, I could say that, well, we seem to foster some level of one-person leadership overweening power. I don't want to use certain terms because I am fully aware as a student of political science of what they could imply. Yeah. That is why I'm probing further into what you're saying. Do you get my drift now?
But I think the overweening is appropriate. The overweening is appropriate. Yes. When you, for instance, look at the gentleman who occupies the highest office of the land today, you mean
the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo?
So the president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you look at him closely, you realize that he and democracy are they are at polar ends. Yes, they are at polar ends. That is why we need to do something drastic, something about the Constitution. So individuals like this who may emerge in future to that office may be somehow trammeled, fettered. You understand? Because with this one, it's like the president has untrammeled access to power, or he wields an untrammeled clout and influence.
I get what you're saying. Maybe we'll leave this conversation for a broader conversation later on, but I always say that maybe one of the ways to go is to revisit the 2010 Constitutional Review Commission and their suggestions on some of these matters. They made some brilliant suggestions, but suggestions all the same that we have not utilized. That document is gathering dust wherever it is. Let's take a look at a few more stories, and then you'll come in with the papers you have. SHS is ready for 2023 academic year. That's according to the CHAS president. Recently, there was talk about the commencement dates, and many second cycle schools have expressed their readiness to reopen for the commencement of the 2023 academic year. In separate interviews with the Daily Graphic, the management of some second cycle schools expressed their readiness to reopen for the commencement of the academic year. According to the management of some of the schools, they had put in place the necessary arrangements for second and third year continuing students to return to school for the resumption of academic activity. There's also, feeding into our discourse on the Constitution, Step Up Education on Constitution Day, Citizens Call. And some Ghanaians have called on government and the National Commission on Civic Education to educate and sensitize the citizenry, especially the young ones, to the significance of Constitution Day. And maybe finally, this one, legislate on maximum tax threshold. Story on pages 16 and 17 of the paper. So legislation must be enacted to stop governments from increasing taxes over a certain threshold. The senior legal practitioner, David Ofosu-Dorte, has advocated. He said the current laws that allowed governments to produce and increase taxes as and when they pleased were detrimental to economic growth as taxpayers and businesses were being stifled with burdensome taxes. Any reactions to this?
Yeah, it's a call in the right direction. Like we said, for instance, VAT, for instance, there should be some threshold for VAT, that VAT can only be increased to, say, the current 2.5%, okay? So that a government that always wants to burden citizens through tax, that government can be fettered somehow by the threshold or the cap. You understand? So this call, it's in the right direction. I agree.
But just as with the justices of the Supreme Court, where some people will explain away about the necessity, especially in our system, our multi-pronged approach and how we need our justices doing different things. Do you feel that that would also not fetter in the other direction? It can fetter both ways. So our needs, our economic needs are growing. Our tax bracket remains small. We've not fully resolved that issue. Don't you think that could also impede the handling of the business of the state, the affairs of governance on an economic level if we went down that road?
I don't see it that way, that by merely capping or putting a threshold on a tax handle.
A cap is a fetter. It's a ceiling beyond which you
exactly,
cannot go.
I agree. It's a fetter. But how will that even make government, increase its revenue. Merely increasing tax, it's only burdening the people. By expanding the tax net, it's what government should focus on.
The point I made was we had tried. We have broadened it briefly, but not to the levels that we should.
So we should broaden it further. Exactly. Exactly. But not by increasing it. So when you are increasing it, you are only burdening some segments of the people. You understand? Which may even percolate down because those people have dependents. You understand? So it will percolate down to those down there.
Point made. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
The Ghanaian Times newspaper, the front page, the headline here is, "Let's work to protect our democracy," says the President of the Republic. And then Ghanaians have a responsibility to uphold the 1992 Constitution. NCC boss, I think that is what you have read a while ago. Fix the country demonstrates in Tamale for new constitution. And courts restrain UG from, this is a story that is so dear to me. Court restrains UG from implementing new residential policy. What's your take on that?
I would rather get your take on that.
No, I want to have your take on that, please. You are a vandal.
How did you know I was an old vandal?
You are a vandal. Please, what's your take on this? So, the draconian policy by the management of the University of Ghana. What's your take on it?
I would look at both ends of the situation. So there is what happened, which was not in good taste. It was in very poor taste. But then there are also the ramifications. I find it interesting. Draconian, you call it.
Yes.
And there are issues I have taken with that decision because the impact of it on those leaders. And even, as you would recall, some of, not just the student leaders, the administrative leaders of the hall, if you recall, were also sanctioned in a way.
Yeah, I remember.
I know someone who hasn't been reinstated. But you see, I take it from both angles. While I feel it may be a bit of a stretch, I also feel that those actions must be curbed moving forward. The university administration has its own way of dealing with that situation. It may not necessarily reflect how I would have wanted it to be dealt with, but that is the route they have taken.
How would you have wanted it to be dealt with?
I would address it maybe differently.
Maybe just putting you on the spot.
No, because, it's okay.
But
what do you make of it?
I have issues with the University of Ghana management. The very day I stepped I gained admission to that school, I've realized that the school is actually reflects the saying that an object in possession seldom retains the same charm it had in pursuit.
Okay.
You catch that? So, leg on. As soon as you get there, you realize that this university that is touted as the most prestigious in Ghana, it's not living up to that billing, the University of Ghana. And it has to do with the management. I call them jobs worth. Jobs worth. Like, this is what it is. And sometimes it's, when you look at even what they are insisting should be done, it's irrational.
So you're saying that the system is
something needs to be done
fixated on a certain way of doing things, and it has not moved from that way.
Yes, you understand that an academic institution should be the one that is so rules are a bit relaxed because that is an institution responsible for production and distribution of knowledge. You understand? So nothing there should be cast in stone. But when you go there, particularly you go to the academic affairs, maybe you have a problem. Look, there was one time I didn't have opportunity to write my exams because there was some minor problem with my registration. So I had to take that exam next semester as a supplementary paper. When even the lecturer of that course insisted that this is my student, he's even my course rep, allow him to write the exams, these guys wouldn't budge.
Do you feel it wasn't the university's regulations that were being implemented in total, or was it that they were merely being, I don't want to use the word that is coming, but implementing the regulations without giving a human face to it? Either way, people would say that regulations are regulations.
Regulations are regulations, but regulations are meant for human beings.
Right. That's why I speak of a human face.
Exactly. Exactly. So that university, lot more things need to be done there, especially at the management level. You know, and you have carried this thing to the Commonwealth Hall. How? No. So it means you are causing problem yourself for the university.
Well, some of the old vandals also masked up. I'm sure you heard of the demonstration.
Yeah.
And we'll see how things go, because there was another reaction basically saying that the university administration is in charge. They do what is best for the university community. But let's. Is there any other story you want to? Our time is actually up. Let's see whether there's something else you'd like to get into.
Okay, there's one here. That's the Daily Guide. It's not one that I'm interested in though, but let me, for the sake of viewers, so viewers will know what's on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. The banner headline says, MPP decides January 31st for elections. I wish them well. Businessman. Republic of Sikampe Dede. In respect, I think this is somebody's opinion. Nana. Okay, so Nana here, I think, is the okay. Nana reiterates commitment to digitalization.
That's in the middle spread of the
middle spread of the newspaper. President Akufo-Addo says his administration is leaving nothing to chance in the digitalization drive. He believes it is the best option for the government and the economy to survive in the 21st century. That, he said, was part of the digitalization agenda, remained some of the most important objectives of his government, because it had become the new language, new science, and new knowledge for the progress and development of the human race.
Right.
Okay, so now who is the messenger here? The message is, it's a welcome one, but the message does not sit well with the messenger. It sits ill with the very person who is saying this. Because when the person who is saying this thing, this message does not square up with that person. He is not a true spaceman of this very message.
Right.
You understand? Because his decisions actually reverse. It's reversing this very digitalization agenda. So he needs to set up, if he wants to be part of the 21st century leadership. Because the 21st century leadership is predicated on this thing, digitization and digitalization. And I think that the president has not, per his decisions, been in tune, very much in tune. His decisions are not very much in tune with this very agenda. So his decisions are counterproductive to the agenda he has set for this country of digitalizing it.
Let's wrap with some headlines from these papers. The New Crusading Guide, improved condition of prisoners, Doma East MP to stakeholders, Ghana to host Africa Prosperity Dialogues, and Ghana gas workers unhappy with GEMSA deal. That's the New Crusading Guide. Then graphic business, global recession to hit Ghana badly if. I'll just take a swipe at that. But on the back page, Salam, we don't have enough time for a reaction. Economic upsides of CR7's foray to the dunes, and he's going to be earning some $210 million a year, and they are looking at the benefits for Al Nasser as well. But just the story on page 3. Global recession to hit Ghana badly if. And analysts and global economic watchers have warned of an imminent global recession that is feared would further deepen the economic challenges facing the already embattled Ghanaian economy. According to them, with the current debt crisis, soaring inflationary pressures, and the unpredictability of the Ghana currency, any further slide in the global economic growth figures would have dire consequences on the Ghanaian economy. And those are the stories in there. Salom, Thank you so much for joining the conversation.
And thank you for graciously inviting me to be on your...
Justice for Ghana.
Justice for Ghana, the convener for Justice for Ghana. Let me use this opportunity to say a very good morning to all gallant members of Justice for Ghana and to the good people of Central Tongue constituency, North Tongue constituency, and Central Tongue constituency, particularly at Idome, Mafikumase, and Bakba.
And that is Selom Dramani Dramado, who spoke to us this morning. Convener, right?
Yeah, convener for Justice for Ghana.
Ghana under 17 forward Ibrahim Sadiq has attributed the delay in the rise of his career to injuries. The 22-year-old who scored Ghana's first goal in the 2017 under 17 World Cup in India has been playing catch-up with his playmates. He spoke to my colleague, Fentu Tahiru.
I think injuries. I had a lot of setbacks and I had a lot to think. And I think it was my own fault. I was young and I didn't think. So once I was growing, I was thinking, why am I even being angry? Why am I stressing myself? Why don't I think of the next move than thinking of what will happen now? What has happened that I can't control? But mostly it was my injury. Because I'm very explosive and stuff, and if you don't take care of your body, everything kind of so. Like when I was in Northland, the only thing that was like affecting was my injuries. But everything from that was nice. Like the family, the people there were really good.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Athletics Association, Bawa Fuseni, says school sports is a major part of their plans to develop athletics in the country. According to him, competition at school level is a bedrock of their talent identification.
School sports is the heart and soul of Ghana athletics. Without school sport, we can't get athletes. All the athletes that we get them from the school sports. Yes, the school sports has reduced from the 5 years to 3 years. Sometimes some of them run for 1 year, and that's it. So now they get maturity from the tertiary institutions. So now we get more our athletes from the tertiary universities instead of the SSS. Yes, but the problem is that the universities, the euphorium is not as the secondary school. As the secondary school. Yes, that's true. Yes, for the past 2-3 years, the basic schools have not even done sports. The BC level. Yes, the secondary schools. And
COVID and its related
issues. I see. And now next year, we'll have Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll have African Juniors in Zambia. Now we are forced to do school festival on ourselves next year. So we are coming up with a program to do school sports, to get athletes, for the young athletes, for the African youth, the African juniors, and the Commonwealth youth. If not, they will not get athletes to go. So the universities are also starting to do something like the US, giving athletes scholarships to come and study. But they need to go one step to be able to tie up their academic performance with their sporting performance. Yes. You can't go and leave one. It has to go together. They have to go together. If your academic performance goes down, then you have to stop the sports and back up. If your sport goes down, you have to stop one and back up. That's what they have to do now. But they are coming now. Maybe in the very near future, you will get to where the US are. Yeah. But the real issue is what you said, what Jerome said. After the school, what else? What next? Yes, what next? Yes. So now we're having 2 areas that we're trying to support. Either they go to the security services or they finish the universities and they become professional athletes.
Welcome back on the AM show. And as promised, we'll give you our serving of big stories. And we're going to be having a conversation with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. And he's going to be giving us his verdict on matters of national scope. He's going to be sharing his thoughts with us on governance issues and current trending matters. We all know him. He takes no prisoners. He is our guest this morning. And let me just say a very good morning to Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lanza, who's been
good morning.
Hiding so far.
Oh, have I? Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, Bernice.
Good morning to you too.
Even as we get ready to host Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, quite a number of issues that have come to the fore. Yesterday, you were speaking of the Meek Mill drama that was unfolding. And have you seen the comments on social media?
I've seen a lot of them. I've seen his own comments and apology as well. I've seen what persons believed to be communicators of the NPP or sympathizers of the NPP have been saying in defense of McMill's actions. So it's just interesting. Some people trying to equalize here and there, some offering some tangible explanations to certain aspects of the video. So it's just a mixed bag of issues when it comes to McMill's.
What I cannot, I look at it from both ends, and yes, sometimes I consider the angle that, look, if Party A were to be in power, all those from Party B would be reacting in a certain way. Yeah. If Party B is in power, all those from Party A would be reacting a certain way. But then again, what happened? The valid question that some people have raised, would you see this happen at the presidency in other countries, other jurisdictions? And let's not look far. Let's look at Africa. Would this happen in maybe a Kenya, a Rwanda, a Nigeria? Those are questions to be asked about the security breaches that maybe happen. When I hosted Selom this morning, he was speaking about the fact that for him, he thinks either someone benefited monetarily for some of these things to happen, for access to be given like this, or it was just the bit about, provincialism. He is from here, he's coming to the country, let's do everything possible to make him feel, and let's hobnob with him. This is how we're hanging out with Meek Mill. But in essence, I don't know whether we didn't take it too far, honestly. I don't want to go full haul and criticize, but at the same time, I have my own concerns.
So Meek says that, look, they wanted to showcase Ghana. And if you watch that video very well, there were other aspects of it that didn't feature the Jubilee House. So it looked to me more like he was just trying to create a reel or a compilation of his activities in Ghana, which included his visit to the Jubilee House. But yeah, there are very legitimate questions about whether we didn't let our guards down too much. Could he, for example, have just been allowed to take a photograph and use that instead, to showcase his visit to the Jubilee House? Could this have been avoided? Did someone sleep on his job? That's the question. Because the other thing too is, some of these things, they're put in charge, certain persons are put in charge of certain things. Is it possible that someone slept on his job? Obviously, because you don't expect the president to... Well, some have asked for heads to roll. Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell, for example, says heads must roll immediately. On social media, we've been out and about speaking to some of you, and some of you agree that heads must roll immediately. But will we see that? That is the big question. And I think he's apologized, and so it waters it down a bit. Obviously he said he's accepted. So let's just see what happens in the coming days and whether we would see any action being taken against any group of people.
But you see, it's one thing for Meek Mill to come out and say, okay, if this has caused any storm of whatever, I am sorry. But how about those who oversaw this entire bit? How about those who watched it happen? Well, I guess only time will tell. In the meantime, Stonebwoy has also taken some stray bullets on that. Charlie, right now, when people are, you don't want to, what did he post? 2 fire emojis under Meek Mill's, post, including the bit about the video, and people have taken him on. So the 2 fire emojis, what do they mean? Were you approving what he did and all of that, Charlie? It is what it is.
Sometimes it's about perspectives. And so this gentleman on social media, who's a photographer, who was just trying to seek answers. And he asked questions like, did anybody go to the Jubilee House and seek for permission to film and was not granted? He was doing like a survey, and he wanted to find out people's personal experiences, because the other question is, did Meek Mill get permission?
Access that others here
didn't have. Right. What was it in it for us, for government to say, okay, you've sought this permission, we'll give it to you because we see a certain benefit in it for us. And once again, we haven't heard government side of this whole issue. So it makes it a bit one-sided. And then we are not too sure what's happening. So
I have asked myself questions because, and this morning I brought it up. We've seen Shatawale, Sarkodie, what's his name, Stoneboy. All of them go to the Jubilee House. We've never seen any videos or stuff like that. So, I mean, it then raises the questions about maybe they didn't ask. Maybe they didn't.
So that's what this photographer, for example, was trying to seek answers to. And the other thing too is, you know, when I saw the caption the first time, Meek Mill shoots video at the Jubilee House, I was expecting to see like a music video. You know how they produce music videos, and he's an international actor, and so we know if he's going to produce a music video, so to speak, it won't be of this quality. So I thought to myself, wow, how could he? But I watched it again and I said, okay, there are concerns, I agree, but I think some people are
blowing it out of proportion. Right.
When you say shoot a music video, it's as though he went there with some heavy equipment, cranes, and then there are concerns, I don't dispute
but must it be that before it's a video? Because nowadays phones are used and...
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he filmed something on his phone and put it together in a video. Okay, so I mean, well, it is what it is, Benjamin. But we'll see, like I said, how it goes in the coming days and see if there will be what others have called for heads to roll. But it's now time to continue our conversation on a certain President Akufo-Addo, even as he begins his third year. And this morning we've been joined by Dr. Nyaho Tamakulu. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you so much for joining the program.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. I hope you are too. So Benjamin and I were just talking about a video of a young rapper from the US that's trending on social media. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you? And do you also share in the concerns that have been raised about it?
I saw just a little portion of the video, and I was really surprised because I simply cannot understand how national security will sit down and permit this to go on. Firstly, I would just like to cite an example. One of your own colleagues, Samima Muslim, years ago, was with a group and they were invited, I think, to the White House. And I remember clearly that Samima Muslim had to be dropped out of the group. Reasons given were quite bizarre. But they principally believed that she is of a security risk. She's there, she's alive, you can call them partner. Now, how a group of people, mind you, our black brothers in the US are our brothers and sisters, but there is no way, I say no way, anyone can get close to the White House without security checks and all sorts of things, let alone be allowed to jump around the White House in the name of the Republic and then come out with sounds that are so insulting. I believe strongly, and I know that nothing will be done. Nothing. I know the government. I know how they behave. I have said time and again that Akufo-Addo is not a listening president. He's not. If it had been maybe Kufuor, I would have seen a different picture. In fact, Kufuor time, this will not go that far. But this is what we are in now. It's unfortunate this happened at the beginning of the year. This is what I was saying.
And Doc, there are those who want to escalate this and say, I mean, this is a unique instance, but it probably is telling on how a lot of things are done without careful attention to detail and ensuring that things are done properly under this government. Do you share in that as well, or you think that may be an overstretch?
I think I do agree with that group of people. A lot has happened in this country since my friend and my brother Akakpo came on the scene. A lot, there have been complaints left, right, center. I have come out immediately, I think 2 weeks after his ascension to the throne. I was interviewed by a Gifty Ando, whether it was a planned interview from your own TV station.
Mm-hmm.
And Gifty asked me certain questions based on what I said before the elections. And she was expecting me maybe to sort of withdraw what I said earlier on. I told her that there's no way I'm going to withdraw this. I am convinced this is what this gentleman will do. And lo and behold, that is what is happening now.
Mm.
You see, I keep on always trying to compare Akufo-Addo to J. Kufuor. I think I might be wrong, because both of them are very good friends of mine. But if Kufuor had not ruled before Akufo-Addo, we might not have seen the change, the difference in the two of them. But I'm glad that happened. Now we know the difference. However, Kufuor formed a government with people who know the party, people who understand the party, people who believe in the philosophy of the party, and people who know that if they fail, it is a disgrace to the whole party. That is not what we are seeing now. Most of the ministers, I can assure you, came on board. They saw it as a gravy train and they just jumped on. And we are seeing the results. And the sad thing is that despite their incompetence, they are still in position.
Mm.
Now, let me just give one cardinal example. Here we have a minister of finance who has failed abysmally. The whole nation is calling on him to step down. The president says no. So members of our own party in parliament came on board, demanded that the man should be removed. I came out to congratulate that small group, and I told them that they have done well, and but for them, there might be security problems in the country. But they came out at the right time, and I know exactly why I said so. And I warned them that very minute that if you are not careful, they will be talked out of what they have planned to do by Akufo-Addo, and it happened. So, we are now in a situation where no one can make any sensible statement from high the standards by, and it will be accepted by the leader of the party and the president of the Republic of Ghana.
Mm.
Yesterday, I was listening to your program when Reverend
Opuni Mensah.
Opuni made a very important point. He spoke about two issues. The first was about the cathedral.
Right.
That he is a Christian. I'm a Christian as I thought. I had fellowship with the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and Osu. That has been my mother church since I was born, from infancy. Now, Opuni said he's a Christian and definitely has nothing, I'm not quoting him, has nothing against cathedral being built. But the resources should not come from the state coffers. I agree entirely with that. Entirely. Because that was what Akufo-Addo told us, that the resources will not come from state coffers. He will organize it. And individuals who share the same sort of opinion come on board the cathedral. I know that is another untruth. Because nowhere in the world have I seen the cathedral being built even within 30, 40 years. Nowhere. I don't know of any cathedral, not even the one in Ivory Coast. Now, the second point he made, which was very important, was that politicians come to the people to beg for their votes. And when they beg for their votes and they are given, they come in cars with a dispatch rider with a siren on, expecting us to go to the side of the road for them to pass. In fact, I felt so bad when I heard that coming from the Reverend Minister, because what he said is a fact. And he showed one thing clearly, that there is no discipline in this country. Presidents are normally the only people who pass with a siren. Now, anyone at all, and I say anyone, I can put my hands into my pocket, go in somewhere, just call a police officer, put money in his pocket, and he'll pull me through the crowd. That's what is happening. Now, when I was a kid and Nkrumah was in power, I remember carefully, if there's anybody probably older than me, the person can come and deny what I'm saying. Ministers ride in their cars. Many a time, most of them, they sit at the back of the car with a police constable in the front seat, near the driver. That's all. They follow the traffic laws and regulations. No one should tell me things have changed and the traffic is now heavy. If you know you have an appointment at 2 o'clock, leave the house at 12. That's what I'll tell them. So, and it shows exactly the type of person that you are as an individual.
So, Doc,
even more.
Sorry to interject, but so how did we get here? How do you think we got here from that point where leadership was more about serving the people and not, as we see now, appearing to be a lucrative business where young people are aspiring to enter? And you just spoke about Reverend Upuni Frimpo, who also cited that, saying that a lot of young people enter politics today within 5-6 years. They're putting up mansions, they own so much. How did we get to this point?
I have talked about this time and again. In fact, quite recently, one of my interviews, I think, with your station or TV3, I made mention of that, or Metro. I feel sad when I see young people rushing into politics. People who have never worked in their life. We have them on both political divides. People who have never worked, right down from university, they get into politics. You see them owning machines, driving big cars, and that has become a norm. But I can assure them, and I'm saying it here today, that these illegal properties that they have acquired, because none of them can account for any of the properties they own, will definitely pass through their hands like the wind in a very short time. Because the people of this country would demand accountability. That is what our party stood for, accountability. And we have come to destroy the total. Nobody is accountable. None of the ministers, at least as far as I know, has stated his or her property since it came to power. None of them. None of them, including, what do you call it, special prosecutors and all these sort of people. None of them. So when they acquire property, there's nothing you can do. But I can tell them the time is coming. And soon it will come. That people will have to account. If you own a bicycle, you must be able to account for it. If you're unable to account for it, then you have to answer. We've seen it before. Abu-Baidoo said, most of you won't even know Abu-Baidoo. A very popular politician from the Ashanti region. He fought for Kwame Nkrumah. But there were two things Nkrumah did, and I was very happy as a kid. A lot of people were happy. He built a mansion somewhere in the Ridge area called Asante House. His wife bought golden bed from London. and Kwame Nkrumah brought him down. Yes, that's what we want to see. There have been a lot of infractions in this country. A lot, day in and day out. It's happened every day. Not a single minister has stepped down. But even let's have a look once again at the finance ministry. A finance minister who has failed this nation, brought us down to our knees economically. Now, a minister of trade resigns, and the person the president found most fit to occupy that position was or is the one who has failed the country. I don't know. At times I ask myself, what is happening to Akufo-Addo? I can't understand. But he wasn't like that when I knew him, when I was very close with him. And I've been close with him for years. I was very instrumental in his coming to the leadership of the party. Very instrumental. He knows it. So I get baffled. At least listen to those who are around you, who are matured, who know exactly what this nation has gone through. Some of us have seen a lot in this country. A government comes in and is destabilized. A government comes in, we have been able to hold the country together for 30 plus years. I was talking about an issue concerning a culture of resignation recently at the University of, I think University of Professional Studies or so, law department. And I was asked to make a comment. And my comment was that we have to learn the culture of resignation. And I'll give you a classic example. Years ago, and the gentleman is alive. You can contact him. These are the people you should talk to because they know, and the person is far, far my senior. He was a young man. I was a student, medical student in those days. A young man, I think he was in the early 30s, called KG Osei-Bonsu. Now, KG was given a ministerial position in the government that overthrew Kwame Nkrumah. He was, I think, a Minister of Information. That was a very, very important, powerful position. Now, this military junta removed the editor of the Daily Graphic. Listen to me carefully. Without the knowledge of the minister. And the minister, for the first time in our history, gathered courage and resigned, wrote a letter to the then head of state, General A.A. Ankara, that he has resigned. The general couldn't believe it. 2 points. One, he's so young, how dare him write a letter to him that he's leaving his government? Two, what experience has he got to take that decision? So the minister summoned him, the general summoned him into his office. And bold as he was, the general asked him to withdraw his letter of resignation. He said, no, sir, I stand by my letter. I say I cannot work with you on principle. First in the history of Ghana.
Right.
Nobody has ever done it today. The sort of resignation we see now as resignations of convenience, that's all, but not based on principle.
Doc, on the bit of the asset declaration, there was some work done by the Fourth Estate, published on myjoyonline.com on the 31st of May 2022, and they found out that 19 of President Akufo-Addo's ministers had not declared their assets, at least 19 of them, so there were some who had done that. But on the bit of the finance minister being asked to take over the role of Mr. Alan Tremantin after his resignation, who would have been that person you would have chosen, considering the background that you gave, that people are already asking that the finance minister be sacked, and the president has asked his party members who are in parliament to hold it until the budget was read, and then the IMF deal secured, and then they can begin to have those conversations again. Who in this government would you have, if you were President Akufo-Addo, asked to oversee that ministry?
That's an interesting question. But one thing I can assure you, I will not put a minister who has failed abysmal in that position. Because after the finance ministry, the most important ministry is the Ministry of Food.
So isn't it more of a situation of those ministries appearing to be quite similar and not necessarily about he being Ken Oforiatta? It's more about those two ministries working hand in hand. And so probably the president was left with no choice but to ask him to oversee it. And that's why I was asking that question. Which ministry or which minister could have been asked to oversee that trade ministry?
Now, as I said, you see, ministries are run by ministers. And you feel you cannot run that ministry, all you have to do is take your pen and resign. Now, Oforiatta has refused to leave the seat. Now, if I had been in the shoes of Akakpo, there is no way. In fact, I will even find it so embarrassing to put Oforiatta in that ministry or ask him to act as a minister there. He has a lot of people around him. A lot of people. I keep on saying all the time. But he decided to put him there. And as I said, the two ministries, to me, are not, even though one cannot call them identical in any form, they really work hand in hand. And you don't need to put a Minister of Finance there. If the Minister of Finance knows exactly what he's doing and is busy, he won't have time for that. Secondly, you have deputies there. Any of the deputies could have acted for some time until you come on a substantive minister. You follow me? So that is what I would.
Right. So let's now we'll come back to President Akufo-Addo, your other concerns with other sectors of the society and government. But let's come to the New Patriotic Party, which says that it will make a decision on the 31st of this month on when to hold its general elections. And that story is on the front page of Daily Guide. Already we've started seeing quite a lot happening. The resignation of the Trade Minister, Alan Tremanting, has been linked to his desires to become president. We've also seen social media campaigns begin. We've seen tags like BMW, Bawumia Swin, and all that. Your quick thoughts on what the party is likely to do, also considering the situation we find ourselves in, where we need to close an IMF deal. Government was hoping to do that in first quarter of this year. And the concerns about our debt restructuring program not going too well. As the party in government and the party hoping to elect a flag bearer going into 2024, how all of this will play out for them?
It's going to be an enormous problem. Very, very enormous problem. And I don't know how the party really will genuinely handle the situation. Now, we have put the people of this country in pain. Apart from the fact that the economy is not going right, nothing appears to be working. And I'll say it because that's what it is. We have borrowed heavily, that at the moment, no one single country or organization wants to give us anything. And that is why we have run back to the IMF. The party that I knew years back with its leadership, people who prepared us to come to where we are today, is not what I see today. They can have a program or come out with a program when and where to hold elections, or when and where to hold leadership race. But it will not be easy. Definitely there will be a lot of infighting. So I don't see why already we have at least about 5, 6 contestants. Now, Formally, we knew that when we have one leader, there is a successor. I've argued that case strongly in favor of Akakpo years ago when I was an ambassador, when Akakpo himself paid a visit to my area. And in the discussion, I got to know that Alan Tremante was being pushed forward to contest him. I stood against it. I stood against it strongly. And there are people who can testify that. I don't want to call them. See, I stood against it in favor of Akakpo. And based on that, I had a problem with former President Jacob. Now, finally, Alan Tremontaine was asked to step down for Akakpo, which he did, respectfully. Now, let's even say that Akakpo did not promise him a position or promise him that next time around, I'll let you run. But to me, naturally, Tremontaine should have been the next person. But he also failed in during that short political career under Akakpo. When do I say so? The government was going wrong in almost everything. Corruption was at its highest level. There were a lot of infractions. I can't mention that. If Tremontaine should have probably given himself a quiet opportunity, think through carefully, think about his future as a politician, what he should have done was to have taken a pen and resigned at that time. Years ago, I made mention of this on television. And if Alan Tremontaine had done that, I can assure you that he would have become the automatic leader of our tradition. But I couldn't do it.
And so, if I get to you, the performance of this government will affect the chances of Alan Tremontaine if he decides to be the leader of the party going into the 2024 elections.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The performance of this government will not only affect Alan Tremontaine in any leadership contest, it will affect anyone who has served under the government.
You mentioned that he would have been the automatic leader if he had heeded your call earlier to resign. So who do you think now? Is there anybody at all who now deserves to be that automatic leader of the party, or who stands a better chance at it?
No, but all those who have presented themselves, I keep on saying, some of them disagree with me, and I'm glad that they disagree with me. Look,
hello, Doc. It appears that the feed got frozen there, but that's Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. All right, I'm told he's back. Doc, sorry, we lost you for a few seconds. You were just saying that people disagree with you.
Yeah. I say, you talk about which of the contestants, or at least those who have shown themselves now. And I'm telling you, apart from what Alan was not able to do, there are others, probably people who might be showing. Hello?
I can hear you, Doc.
There are others who probably might like to come on the scene. But once again, let's look within our own ranks. I made mention of Kwabena Agyapong. Kwabena Agyapong is a very good material, but once again, he failed the litmus test. You see, politics, before you lead, as they before showed clearly, you have to practice for years, and you get the experience and the strength to lead. Now, Kwabena Agyapong, I back him strongly when he was campaigning for the position of General Secretary of the party. He got that position. He was later removed, and I thought he would have the guts to stand firmly as a leader. He disappointed me. I must say it, I told him already. For one simple reason, that he left his colleagues with whom he was dismissed to walk back into the fold of the present government, thinking only God knows what he did. And when he failed, he decided to walk back. And that was a big mistake. The other person who is also a very good material is Boachi Agyapong. Very good material. Very, very good material. But he also, as I speak now, he was dismissed from office. No reasons were given to us as people of this country. He himself never spoke and tell us exactly what happened. Because something happened, some of us know.
But Doc, he did speak. He spoke on Asempa, and he also spoke to us about the incident. But he wasn't...
Did they come out with what happened?
Well, he narrated...
Before he was dismissed?
He narrated to us how it occurred, but didn't give the very fine details, if there are any that you know.
He should have come out with the details of what happened, because that will affect a whole lot of people. That is what this country wants. That is what democracy means. We are not children in this country. He should come out with the fundamental problem that led to his being dismissed. He has time still. He should come out with it. So if he's able to come out with the reason why he was kicked out of office, he might have the sympathy of some of the people, particularly some of us. He's not been able to do that. All he did was to come out and just talk, address us as if we are next to nothing. And I've been saying repeatedly that the people of this country are now sophisticated. They are not the same people we know years back. Now, as far as I'm concerned, looking at our party now, I don't know of others who have brought the face forward. No, but apart from the three, from the two, I think Bawumia, Alan Chiremantine, and Kwabena Agyapong. I don't know of anybody who has shown serious interest in leadership.
There's Kennedy Agyapong. I've seen some billboards around town.
I don't know Kennedy Agyapong, the party. I know somebody who makes noise in the party, but I don't know Kennedy Agyapong. You see, the problem also with us is that we always keep on praising people. What has he done for the party? He should come out with it. I don't know him. Others I mentioned, I know them, and I know the work they have done in the party. Maybe he might have done something for the party. If he has done something for the party, he should come forward and let us know. But I don't know what he has done for the party. All the names, the three names that I mentioned, even Bawumia, definitely has done something for the party within the short period that he has been in. But you ask yourself, will he be able to get the leadership of the party? That's the question you ask yourself.
So for you, as it stands now, there's not one person in the party who will or deserves to be the automatic leader going into the 2024 elections. What would it take for any of these people that you've mentioned to lead the party in 2024?
I think we have some in the offing. I think so. There are a few names I might have heard of in the offing, but they have not come out yet to let us know that they are interested. So let's wait, and when they come out, one can know what to do. Few individuals, I think, will be considered seriously by the members of our party.
You talk with, it appears to me, with such pain about the current state of your party. You use words like, this is not how it was in the beginning and all that. The new crop of executives of the NPP as we speak. Do you see them changing the trajectory to go back to what you refer to as what the party was known for and stood for? Or do you think that it's another trajectory of course?
That's a good question. Now, the recent national executive race we had was quite interesting. Now, what is painful is that those who we know that they are young people who has experience and the courage to work on the basis of the principles of the party rules and regulations did not show up. Unfortunately, they did not show up.
And what are these people? Who are they? Any names?
Names I would like to keep quiet on that.
Right.
But they are people, they're part. You follow me? Now we have a young man now, I'm told he's a lawyer. Yeah. No one will have any doubts about his academic capabilities. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but has he got the experience? Politics is of experience. Experience. If you don't have it, you have to learn it before you come to the forefront. You cannot, from nowhere, jump into the leadership of a party. It will never work. You can come and talk, and that is what even some of us are saying now. People who have never worked before being made ministers overnight. And the results, we are seeing it. So the present leadership of the party definitely cannot be compared with what it was years back. Matured and experienced politicians who would not think about themselves alone. But first and foremost, they'll think about the country. That is what our party was known to be. The country first. Now we are having it differently. So the present leadership we have, the national chairman, I know very well. He has been on the scene for some time. The general secretary, I really don't know him at all. And the other officers, I don't know them.
Could it be, Doc, sorry, could it be that you're just out of touch with your party? Could it be?
I'm not out of touch. I'm telling you exactly what really is the situation. I'm not out of touch. I'm very active in politics in our party. And I know what happens there daily. I'm not out of touch at all. You see, politics comes out with certain things. Let's look at the time of J. Akakpo. Look at some of his key ministers. Just pick a man like Kojo Bamri. May he rest in peace. His death worried me a lot because he was a potential leader. A leader not just for our party, but for this country. But the man was honest and hardworking. We can't get anybody like that again since he left. But I've been watching what happens in the party very carefully. That's why I'm able to talk to you about contemporary issues that is going on there. But the point is, when I try to compare what has, well, not long ago, I mean, Kufuor left the scene, it's not long ago. Kufuor ministers, his ambassadors, and those who assisted him, you can't compare them with what we have now. I'm saying it, I don't care who's God, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not a small boy. I know what I'm talking about. And Akufo-Addo had the opportunity to pick certain people who could have helped him to move this nation forward. But he ignored them. And those he picked, some of them had bad records in Kufuor's administration. So I am not surprised about what is happening at the moment. All that I'm praying for at the moment is that maybe someone will emerge who will be principled, very sincere, call a spade if it's necessary, and move our party forward. And that intent move the nation forward. Because at the moment, Ghana is no Ghana that it used to be.
Yesterday was a holiday. We were commemorating Constitution Day, which happened on Saturday. You just made reference to an earlier interview where you applauded the NPP MPs who were demanding the removal of Ken Ofori-Atta. And at the time, and you've just even repeated it, you claimed that it was timely because it averted a possible national security crisis. The president has spoken on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the Fourth Republic, and he's asking us to work to protect our democracy. But with the current economic challenges we are facing, with all the concerns you've raised within the political space, even from your party, our democracy and where we are going in our current state, I want you to try and give me your perspective on the interplay between these various sectors that I've just mentioned, the economy, our general political space, and keeping and maintaining our democracy?
I think what I would say first is that as I see myself at the moment, my only prayer is that this Fourth Republic must survive. I'm telling you, I'm being frank with you. My only prayer, I keep on saying that this Fourth Republic must survive. Because if we fail again, then this country is doomed forever. So my daily prayer is for the Republic, this Fourth Republic, to survive. And I know God will let it survive. Because that will let us know those who really are leaders, who are interested in pushing this nation forward.
What will it take for us to survive?
We have to do the right thing. In fact, what is happening now, if it had been from years back, the government would have been booted out of power long ago. But you can see that those who probably might have thought of that, or might be thinking of that now, also think about how they can handle the country. It is my prayer that we hand over to another civilian government. So that civilian government, I believe, is now learning from what is happening now. But if we fail to do that, the people of the country, I'm talking about Ghanaians, will get fed up. And when the people get fed up, it becomes a different ballgame. And that is what I am praying that it will not happen. The Fourth Republic, we have to pray that it really survives. But as I said, if infractions are going on, government fails to listen to the people. Government pushes the people by the roadside and passes with sirens. Government doesn't listen. Government is not accountable to anybody. Monies get disappeared and nobody says anything. The anger of the people is what I'm afraid of. But not somebody who will do a coup d'etat. No. I've been a soldier before. I know what coup d'etat entails. I've tried it before. I have tried it before. I was in prison for that. Myself and other officers. That is not the answer. But what I dread is the people's annoyance. And that is what the security agents in this country, and for that matter, those who see to our security, must take seriously.
So, in your earlier submission, you referred to President Akufo-Addo as a friend and a brother. And yeah. I was just curious because I've heard you, so many platforms, talk so much about this government. You share ideas, you have thoughts, you have some advice to offer. If he was a friend and a brother, why not talk to him directly? Why not go to him and say, look, do it this way and you'll succeed?
I think I said he was a friend and a brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He was a friend and a brother. Akufo-Addo used to listen a lot. I know him. But what is happening to me now, what is happening to him now, and quite recently I met a close relative of his, a very close relative. I don't want to go into details, but one day it will come into one of my books. He saw me, but he greeted me, and unfortunately I didn't see him. And he thought I was trying to snub him. No. So when I met him at the conference, I called him, he came and greeted me. I said, I didn't see you. He said, call me again. I said, I didn't see you. And he said, Doc, what is happening to your brother? This is the way he put it. And I said, I don't know. You are there with them. And his conclusion to me was that he thinks what is going on now is spiritual. That, to quote him, that is exactly what he told me a few days ago. So if it's spiritual, then we have to sit up properly. Because some of the things that Nanado does, I don't understand, honestly.
Is it a deviation of who you've known him to be over the years? I mean, because there are some who say he's always been like this, he's been arrogant, we warned you. But you say he was a close friend and a brother. Would you say that what you see currently with how he's running his government is a deviation of who you've known him to be?
You see, I won't say Nanado is arrogant. The word arrogance really is quite different when I look at Nanado. Nanado is not arrogant. Nanado, when not happy with issues, he gets confused. And he tries to massage his ego in such a way that you think he's arrogant. He's not arrogant. I don't think so. You see, what is happening now is that those who can tell Nanado that, my brother, you are going the wrong way, are not around. That's where the problem is. Well, some of the decisions some of us cannot understand. There are people who can tell him, if they were not even in government, but he consults them or talks to them. And allow me to mention one or two names. Dr. Charles Kubro. These are people who, they will tell you as it is. And I think that is healthy for an individual who is a leader of a country. Do we have somebody like that around him now? No. Somebody who could have done that too is Akoto Ampao, but I doubt if he's doing it, or even if he's listening to. I would have done the same also. You follow me? Now, if you keep on advising somebody and the person is not responding, I think you advise yourself and then take a back seat. But some of us will continue talking. I'll continue talking. I'll continue talking because I want the good of this country. I want the good of this country, so I'll continue talking. But if we are not careful, as I kept on saying, I am not worried about the putsch. No. I'm worried about how the people of this country will behave in future. That is my greatest concern. But that one, it comes out in a different way. And as I said before, if you don't allow the people to express their views, and you keep on ordering them around, one day they will force the ball of democracy into your mouth and push it down your throat. That is what it is. It has happened in a lot of countries, who are now democratic. Ghana should have been miles ahead of most of this country, miles ahead. I mean, how on earth can we bring people from Taiwan to come and teach us how to grow rice? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. We can grow rice there if the leadership knows exactly what it's about.
But these are partnerships, you know.
Look, you see, we know this jargon. I mean, partnership in what? We know this sort of thing. It's all because somebody wants money. What partnership are you talking about? Somebody wants money. We all know that. They know it themselves too. That is the sad part of it. And they try to camouflage things in such a way that the ordinary person who probably has not got experience will not be able to read through. What on earth? It's just like going to, what do you call it, a China and telling them they should come and grow cocoa for us. Now, mind you, we taught Malaysians how to grow palm oil, the palm. We sent it there. Ghanaians, agriculturists went down there to plant it years ago. What has happened now? At the moment as I talk to you, the world market says that the world is short of palm oil. We ourselves, we are importing palm oil from Malaysia and other places. It's the question of the leader.
So, Doc, you have a problem with Thailand being the fourth leading rice producer in the world, coming here, partnering local businesses, sharing knowledge, and helping us also develop that sector. Because you see what an opportunity for money making, corruption. What exactly is it?
Yes, you have mentioned it. Money making and corruption. That's exactly what it's going to lead to. I can assure you. Let's try it and you see that I will be proven right. That's all. I can assure you.
Interesting. So yesterday on our interactive segment, we asked our audience what they think should be done by the president to change the next 2 years of his second term. And there was someone who said the president should do something unimaginable, something unexpected, like slashing his ministers, you know, listening to the people, reducing expenditure on the side of presidency. I want to give you the opportunity to share 3 key things that will change the dynamics for this country. Also keeping in perspective what we're going into with our IMF deal, our debt restructuring, which appears to be suffering a possible setback, and the elections. 3 things for you that can change the story for the president in terms of his legacy, for the country, and for the NPP as a party.
3 things. Very interesting. I think the first point that I'll touch will be the work of the Auditor General. If the Auditor General will be allowed to do his work, or at least recommendations that he will come out with will be implemented, that will save this country a lot. What happened before the last Auditor General was thrown out? Ghanaians have taken that as a no. The present Auditor General, at least, he has come out with certain things. Are these being sent to? That's my point number 1. Secondly, Akufo-Addo should be bold to cut his ministers just to 14, 1-4. From the 170 to 1-4. There were 14 competent people who can run this country. I can assure you about that. 14 competent people can run this country. without even so-called deputy ministers. 14 people can run this country. And lastly, he should set the courts free. Justice.
Sorry, did you say the courts?
Yes.
Okay.
They should set the courts free. These various appointments to Supreme Court day in and day out should stop. But it will never help this country.
But why, Doc?
As I've said time and again, when the court fails us, then we are doomed.
But the appointments to the Supreme Court needed to happen because there were some vacancies. Some had retired, one had passed. And so what exactly is your issue with his appointments to the Supreme Court?
Now, how many Supreme Court judges do we have, Adam? A small nation like that. Tell me, how many Supreme Court judges we have?
But what he's doing, the number is permitted within our constitution, within our law. So, I mean, the question is he doing anything illegally?
No, but even during the time of, I think, Kwame Nkrumah, we never had judges out. At the moment, how many do we have on the bench? You tell me.
I think there should be about 15.
Yes. That is not necessary. 7 Supreme Court judges who are solid can run this country. 7, maximum. You follow me? And they should be Supreme Court judges who believe in justice. And they know what really they are doing for this country. Like some of the names of judges, I can't even remember all. Say Akakpo, say Edward Akufo-Addo himself, that's Akufo-Addo, Nana Addo's father. Justice Van Leer, Justice Akolache. I mean, these were people you cannot compromise. Kwame Nkrumah, with all his experience, when people were sent for treason trial and they were freed by these judges, Nkrumah didn't see the danger. But he sacked the Chief Justice together with the whole setup. And that was the beginning of his problem. You follow me? Akufo-Addo should leave the judges alone. Yes, he can appoint, but I say 7 Supreme Court judges is more than even enough for this country. That's all. So these are the 3 things you ask for. So that is what will bring peace. Now, the ordinary man in the street doesn't believe in the courts. I'm telling you. You see, I am on the ground with the people, so I know what I'm talking about. The ordinary person, when he's going to the court, doesn't believe in the courts. It's so sad. I mean, it's become just a routine. People go there, they listen to cases, they are sentenced or whatever it is, and they come out. Because they know what is happening there. He knows that if it's not somebody who can look somewhere or somebody who can talk for him, he has no future as far as justice is concerned. And that should be a big concern to a government. And as I knew Akufo-Addo years ago, a man I believe strongly that he believed in justice. He was fighting for the downtrodden years back. Classic case between himself and my cousin Chatuchi Kata. Never heard of in this country. In fact, that is what pushed him up. The case of the Chief Justice versus the President of Ghana. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you the details. But that alone is a clear example that we've had different leadership before. Judgment was given the way it should be given. And people were happy. You follow me? So that is what it is. Because judgment was given against the president, and he accepted it. The president accepted it. So if people are asking for slashing down of numbers of ministers, I agree with them. They are asking for accountability, I agree with them. And they are asking also that there should be justice in this country. I agree with them. Where he is now, I will say it is too late to change anything. I'm telling you. Too late to change anything. The Ghanaians have a saying that Heni Ashele, Fomo Eshelagba. That is, you have the baby between the thighs of the mother. Either you get the baby out or the baby will die through asphyxiation. That's all.
Right. Doc, we'll be wrapping up this conversation shortly, but just by way of information on what the Constitution says about the number of Supreme Court judges we can have. Article 128 Clause 1 says, the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices of the Supreme Court. And as it stands now, we have 14 of them. And there's this one whose approval is pending. I think there are issues by the Vetting Committee in Parliament. But in wrapping up, I'd like to find out from you. We've spoken about the presidency. You've spoken about the things that could have been done better. But are there any 2 or 3 things that you would say you like, at least? It could be a policy, it could be a decision, whatever it is, since President Akufo-Addo took over. Is there any 2 or 3 things that you can say, this one was good?
Let me first pick the Supreme Court number. 9 by the Constitution. We have abused that. So you can see that I'm quite clear on that. I suggested sub. Maybe at the review in future, it might come down to sub. Now, is there anything that this government has done that? Yes. When we were preparing to come to power, Akufo-Addo preached that he will make sure we get away from Gudgesberg economy. If he had done that, this country would have been in a better situation today. But rather, the floodgates were open for all sorts of dubious businessmen. We are a population of just about 30 million. But in the whole of Africa, we import chicken more than any country. Go and check it, you see. Chicken. Why? Simply because that is the way people will get their dubious money. You follow me? So as I said, yes, if he had pursued his own policy and what do you call it? And program that he preached to the people, get away from Gudgesberg economy. We shouldn't be just a raw material nation that will be sending our products, unfinished products outside, that will be bought for nothing. Even prices are not determined by us. And then all the finished products from the
Hello, Doc?
Developed countries, basis of economics. Very basic. I mean, this.
It appears we've lost.
That is what okay. In such a.
All right, Doc. So my question was, sorry to interject, Doc. You're speaking about what he promised to do and not delivering on that. But I'm asking you, since he came into power, is there anything, 1, 2, or 3, that he has done, any decision that he has taken, any policy that has been implemented that you would say was a good one?
No, young lady, I have told you. You see, if I want to cite example, there's nothing that they have come out with themselves. They talk of rules. They talk of rules. They talk of hospitals. They talk of what? I mean,
free SHS, for example, free senior high school, for example.
HSS, yeah.
One district, one factory.
Free SHS. Look, our constitution says it should be handled progressively. It's nothing new. I remember when he was asked these questions on BBC. And I remember very well, he was asked the question, where are you going to get the money to run this?
Right.
He couldn't come out with any clear answer.
What about the year of return? You know, what about the year of return policy? There are those who say that has raked in a lot for the country. People coming in, Ghana being put on the map, being advertised as a place of destination for many tourists.
As I said, blacks in the diaspora are our brothers and sisters. They can come here anytime. Nkrumah did more in that direction. But Nkrumah brought in people who had influence on the larger group in America, the black group in America. You follow me? So they are brothers. We are always ready to receive them. So to me, it's nothing new. But you made mention of bringing in money. Of course, when a tourist is coming to a country, definitely he comes in with money. So I don't see it as anything exceptional at all. They are our brothers, just like as you are here today, you may have a relative who has been outside for years. It's coming back home. We have to receive them warmly. So I have nothing at all against that exercise. I have been very active in black activism years ago, you know, but to me that's normal. But let's come home. The government should show us. They should come out with it. Oh, I've been able to get X amount of money meant for a particular project, and this is the project completed. Because very soon their time is coming to an end.
Doc, we are wrapping up in 2 minutes, but I definitely cannot let you go without allowing you to touch on sports. Benjamin Akakpo spoke to you just before we were going to the World Cup, and we went there. We've seen the performance of the stars. There's chant going on at the moment. Otoado has left. There's a lot happening within the sporting fraternity. What would you like to see? Also, we know AFCON is coming up shortly, especially for the Black Stars and the squad that just played in the World Cup.
You see, time and again, I come out with an advice, and people just brush it aside. I told them that Otoado would not be able to handle this boys right from the beginning. Number one, he was part of the group that were to train the boys. He was most of the time absent because he had another job in Germany doing. Secondly, he hasn't got that experience to handle the Black Star. Look, before we can really achieve anything in sports, as I see it now, government must really seriously pump in money. And pump in money to get one of the best trainers. When I say a trainer, that's a coach, anywhere in the world. The sort of fourth-class coaches we are going for cannot give us the results. Kwame Nkrumah years ago. Now, mind you, we've won the cup 4 times. 4 times, that's all. The first 2 cups were brought in under Nkrumah's regime because Nkrumah was interested in football. He comes to the park himself, regular. Then came in General Kutu Achiampo. He was also interested. In fact, he made himself Minister of Youth and Sports. And he had a representative at the FA. Then after that came in Jerry John Rawlings. But before Jerry came, of course, General Akakpo and others were around. Then Jerry came in. After Jerry, before Jerry was Dr. Lehman. Lehman also gave a serious thought to football. But just when he was about to reap what he had sown, he was kicked out of power. So Rawlings came in, and Rawlings took that shine out of him. You follow me? Now, one thing we shouldn't forget is that at that time, the country was in economic crisis, just like we are today. And we couldn't even get an aircraft fare to fly our boys to Libya, to Tripoli, or whatever they've had a match. Libya sent us an aircraft to pick Abu-Baidoo and others to Libya to play. And of course, the Libyans thought we are going to pull for them to win. It turned out to be a different case. We defeated them, and they never forgave us. I'm sure till today. They sent us back, but at the finals on the pitch, when we have scored them, they started throwing toilet rolls on the pitch. And the reason was quite simple. At that time, Ghana was in crisis financial, that we couldn't even afford toilet rolls in this country. So until government puts in money and focus on the Black Stars and make sure we have competent people running that place, we should forget about it. And believe me, if we are not going to stop this sort of getting boys from various clubs together and camp them for a week or days before a tournament, but rather concentrate on the boys we have here, get a coach who will train them, a coach who can turn a goalkeeper into a striker, then we should forget about it.
I appreciate your time here this morning, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. It's been an interesting conversation with you, and we're grateful that you could be a part of our show this morning. And later on, we'll get interactive with you.
Thank you very much also. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Right. Thank you. And
welcome back on the AM show. We continue with our next big story, and we'll be talking about the Ghana Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme, GESOPS for short. Now, these contributors are unhappy with how their fund money is being used. They accuse the Ghana Education Service of misusing their funds for non-sanctioned activities, like being a headline sponsor for the 2022 National Teachers Awards. They've put together an RTI request, and this morning we interact with the convener of Innovative Teachers, Stephen Desu. He joins us for a conversation. Mr. Desu, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. So let's start with why all of this has become an issue. But before that, at what level do you teach? Where do you teach? Just
at the basic level.
At the basic level. Yeah. Okay. Would you like which area do you teach in?
Well, I used to be at the GHS level, but I've been sent to the primary school, so I'm in class 1.
Okay. Now, looking at the petition that you've put forward to the RTI Commission, there are so many angles to it. But I'd like to start with the background to this entire Tier 2 pension scheme and how your group got involved. Tell us a bit about that before we get into that statement that you've put out.
Okay, so over the years, workers have been complaining about the meager, lump sum that's paid to them by SNIT. And so that led to a lot of agitations at the time that former President Kufuor was in power in 2004. And so the president accepted the idea from unions that there should be a pension reform. So committees were put up, issues went back and forth, the government issued a white paper, and on in December 2008, the president ascended to the Pension Act 776 to be in operation. And then when President Mills took over government, he launched it in 2009. But in 2010, the deductions started. And so the NPRA, which is National Pension Regulatory Authority, had what they call TPFA account, as in temporary fund account, where teachers' contributions or workers' contributions were put in the account at Bank of Ghana, waiting for the trustees to be formed before the monies were transferred to them.
Right.
And so that's the background. But the basis for the second tier pension scheme, as in the pension reform, that brought the first tier, which is SNIT, the second tier, that is GISOP in the case of GES, and the third tier, which is not compulsory but voluntary on the part of any worker that wants to put his money in a company that he or she chooses. And so that's the background to that. But again, it had to do with the way SNIT has been managing the affairs of workers' money over the years. And you and I know about the Auditor General report pointing out to a lot of malfeasance, abuse, misuse, and plain thievery of workers' money. And
you call it plain thievery?
Of course, I mean.
What justifies those statements?
I mean, SNIT is highly notorious for some of the things that they have been using our workers' money for.
Can you spell out some of them?
I mean, some are in court anyway, so I do not want to, engage in that bothersome contempt of court. But for us as workers, we feel peeved that, persons who are in charge of SNIT retire on their salaries. But if you look at a teacher who has taught for 32 years, 38 years, gone on retirement, then you look straight into that teacher's face and say, take 10,000 cedis and go home. When the SNIT boss monthly salary is more than 80,000, how do you justify this in any, fair and equitable society? And so for us, we think that the idea of the second tier is a good one, only if the ills of SNIT would not be visited here. But if the ills of SNIT is visited on the GISOP money, it will be like taking one step forward and taking two steps backward. And so it will be worse off as workers or teachers if we do not, open our eyes to see or do what is in governance called checks and balances. Because we see there's a lot of weak internal controls. It's like a group of people have gathered around the money. It's like they decide whatever they want to do with the money, regardless of what the law says. And so for me, that's where we are coming in with our RTI request.
So that's the bone of contention. We'll come to other points that you make, and I see you holding that request there, the legal request you've put through. But I would just like to pick your thoughts on the debt exchange program. And pension schemes have been, taken out as of now. I'm sure you're happy with that.
Of course. I mean, all of us do not want any haircut, especially at the time when I've already told you about the meager nature of, teachers' lump sum and pensions and all that. So when you go and touch that, you already, making the teachers or the workers worse off. So we are happy that at the end of the day, the debt exchange has been, did not affect Ghanaian workers' pension. And so from our point of view, what we are saying is that moving forward, now that it has not affected us, could it be that some people who are on the board of trustees are doing the right thing, or they are doing things, either act of omission or commission, that results in throwing our money away? Not even a haircut. This is a head cut. Virtually.
It's not a haircut. It's
yes,
a head
when you throw our money away, you are giving the money haircut. Haircut is when the government says that they want to expand the spectrum in terms of the year they won't pay the interest and the principal amount and all that. But when you take our money and you throw it away, you are not giving the money a haircut. You are giving it a haircut. And that's what some of us come in and we think that the level of transparency that will require from the GISOP Board of Trustees, they've not done so. From 2016, when the GISOP was formed, the quantum amount of money that was given to them by the NPRA through the Bank of Ghana, they've never mentioned it to anybody.
So that has not been disclosed?
Yes, we don't know. And monthly, all the contribution that has been made from teachers has not been known to anybody. So the whole thing has been cloaked.
Have you ever requested this information apart from this current?
No, this is the first time. This is the first time you're making that request. We've never done that before.
No, but I mean, whether orally or has there ever been a request that some of these pieces of information be made known to you?
Well, under normal circumstances, if I'm going on retirement, let's say this year, and then I appear before, say, the fund manager, and the fund manager tells me that I'm entitled to say 6,000 cedis. What shows that what you're giving me is the actual amount? Don't you get statements? Well, they have something. They have USD short code where teachers can go and check their contributions. That is also problematic in a way. How so? Okay, so we tracked a teacher's contribution over the years, over a period of time, less than 100 days. And the amount of money we saw that has accrued to him over the course of less than 100 days was more than the 1,200. And we know that between March last year and today, the government has not remitted the deduction that was taken from teacher salaries to the GESOP, trustees for investment. So it means that this money came from the interest or dividend that was invested. The question is, in less than 100 days, where did that 1,200 cedis in addition to that money came from? But that would actually be a pro, not a con, right? When we juxtapose that with teachers who went on retirement 2 years ago, receiving 6,000, it gives a lot of worry. So or reason to be concerned. Total? Yes. That's the total amount. Yes, some receive 4,000. You understand? So if a teacher who receives less salary in terms of his rank today is quoted to have 28,600 as his contribution as we speak, but a teacher who was a senior teacher with higher rank, who started contributing with the same young teacher from 2010 to 2020, that teacher went home with 4,000, 6,000. But this teacher, within just 2 years, is quoted to have 20,000. So there are some anomalies. Yes, yes. Do you know what could be accounting for this? Well, we can only hazard a guess as to what it is, but through the questions that we ask, that when they provide the answers, they can give us insight into that. So let's get into those questions. So 8 of you, you are the convener for the group. Yes. 8 of you actually signed your names, or your names are there, and you reference that the letter is pursuant to the client's fundamental human rights. Of course, those are your lawyers, pursuant to Article 21F of the Constitution of Ghana and Section 18 of the Right to Information Act 2019. And you walk us through quite a number of matters. Let's take them bit by bit. So you talk about requesting a copy or copies of the relevant documents from the temporary pension fund account. You talk about seeking a copy of the consent judgment obtained by GESOPs as a plaintiff in a suit against the government of Ghana in 2013. You talk about a copy of the document regarding the amount government failed to pay from the temporary pension fund, the bank statement as provided. And then you mention in point 5, a copy or copies of the statement of account that exists in the name of the Ghana Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme. Which outfit is it the Ghana Education Service? No, Ghana Education Service is different from GESOPs. No, I get it. I mean, which outfit usually would get these details, the GESOPs details? Oh, the board of trustees. The board of trustees. Yes, the board of trustees. They have the details. Who are on the board? Well, the unions are at GES workplace, of which we are part of it, but we are being prevented from. That's why I'm mentioning the GES. So the GES should be privy to this information, right? Yes, if they have reps there. That is, if they have reps there on the GESOP. You're not sure whether they have a representative? Well, that's what we are requesting for, even the list of those on the board. The issue here is that government too has reps there. So it's not only the union that has reps there. So it constitutes the unions and government reps who constitute the GESOP Board of Trustees. And you put the name of the account is GESOP's Board of Trustees, is that it? Well, the account here is a letter that surfaced on social media a month before the professional development allowance was deducted from teachers' professional development allowance for payment of the 30% of the One Teacher, One Laptop project. Okay. And so what we saw was that this account was supposed to receive a portion of the deduction from teachers. And so if this account is anything to go by, then it's a public account. And so we want to know the details of this account statement and what has been happening to it.
You also talk about an escrow account. In the
Yes.
same letter dated the 26th of October 2021, which you reference, you say the Director General of the GES called for the opening of an escrow account that would yield interest. Kindly provide the bank statement of the escrow account and documents that show the performance of that account since it was opened.
Yes,
Again, you mention was made of this escrow account that would be set up. You have no further details of that as a teacher.
Well, the issue is that when this account was opened, based on the letter that we have referenced,
right.
The idea here was to open it so that they can generate dividends or interest so that more laptops can be produced based on what we read in the letter. And so we want to know the details of what has happened to the escrow account that was opened with our money. As in the professional development allowance. Yes.
Okay. So all these requests you have put to bear, some 24 of them, right?
Yeah.
So seeking documentation showing that government has paid 70% of the said amount to the GESOPs used to pre-finance the manufacturing of 280,000 laptops and 18% interest on that amount. What communication has there been from your group to the Ghana Education Service on some of these relevant matters? Have you even taken the step of interacting with them?
Well, they have received it and they are yet to respond to that. So for now, that's what we can say.
So you're saying they have received a copy of this document that you have here?
Yes.
How long has it been since they got a copy?
Last week, Friday.
Last week, Friday?
Yes.
And for the board?
For the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Does the board of GESOPs have a copy of this?
Yes, they do. They do. This is what they received and acknowledged receipt of same.
So basically, all of them got this information sometime last week?
Yes.
What is your anticipation in terms of how long it will take for you to get any responses from the various...
Well, we've given them 30 days to give us a response, and then we'll take it from there.
And for the pensions fund, what's the approach with them?
The pension fund?
Yes.
As in the pension fund managers or?
Yes, the managers.
Oh, the managers, we don't have a problem with them. Our issue is about those who give direction, because the work of the, the board of trustees to direct the activities of the fund managers. So the fund managers listen to the board of trustees. And so whatever they tell them to do is what they will do.
So for now, you don't have a problem with the fund managers?
Yes.
It's the board you have a problem with?
Yes, it's the board of
the
trustees.
board.
Yes, that we have a problem with it.
So this is an interesting bit that you've put out here. But do you know how much is involved in terms of...
We don't, unless they give us the information.
This is pretty opaque in a way, because you don't know how much is involved.
Yeah.
And that is partly because you've not been given much information.
Yes, of course.
Over time.
Yeah.
Since when, 2016?
Yes, since 2016. But the information ought to have started from 2010 up to this time.
So you're basically saying from 2010 till 2023 or 2022?
Yes. Nothing has come out from that.
A period of about 12 years. You, the teachers involved who have been contributing to the scheme, know nothing about how much you've contributed so far.
Yeah, nothing has come out from them.
You don't know how much has accrued to you on the back of those contributions you have made. Yes. You have practically little to no information.
Yes.
About your pension contributions.
Yes. We don't.
But why have you waited this long?
Well, for us, we've been looking at giving them the benefits of the doubt. That they
for 12 years?
Well, for them to do the right thing, but over the course of time, we've noticed that things are not going right, and so we need to step in to do the right thing. So that's the reason why we filed this request. Better late than...
How long have you been convener of this group?
Well, we just put ourselves together, and then we started sensitizing teachers on this so that teachers would be aware of what their monies are being used for, basically.
Before you took charge and decided together with your team to go ahead with this, did you have any leadership as teachers?
Oh, there's leadership. Teachers have leadership.
No, I'm not talking of general leadership. I'm saying specifically on this matter. Had you had any leadership, anyone serving as an arrowhead pursuing this matter?
Oh, no, I have offered myself to lead this process. So that's what we're doing now.
So how many teachers in essence are involved in all of this? I mean, how many teachers are you fighting for, so to speak?
So we're talking about more than 280,000 plus teachers and educational workers. So they are the ones we're talking about.
More than 280,000. Same
teachers,
number that is referenced as far as the laptops are concerned.
Yes, and educational workers who are also more than 70,000. So when you add the figures, you're getting close to...
So what, 350,000?
Yes, contributors.
Because 280,000 plus 70,000 thereabouts will give you 350,000.
Yes, so that's the number of contributors every month. And we are at a loss as to what the money is being used for in terms of investment, so that we know exactly how much is accruing, so the teacher can know that, okay, if the money was invested at, say, 20% per annum or for 5 years, you can sit and calculate the amount of money that is supposed to be
5% on the amount?
Yes.
Over 5 years?
If we don't know...
I mean, yes, mathematically.
So the teacher, before he goes on retirement, will not be relying on the USD code, but can calculate how much is supposed to get at the end of the day.
How much is due him or her?
Yes. But if you don't do that and everything is in an opaque manner, it becomes a problem. For me, that's what the problem is.
So now, talking of other things, now you say your funds, you're not getting the required details on the dividends that may be accruing to you and all of that.
Yeah.
But are you also concerned about some things that your funds are being used for? Tell us about some of them.
Okay, so the last straw that brought the camel's back was an issue where, of course, I was listening to Joy FM a day before the event of Best Teachers Prize that last year. And the advert came that our money is being used as a sponsor, gives up as a headline sponsor of the 2022 Best Teachers or Ghana Teachers Prize. So we're alarmed. And it was like, the money is not meant for this purpose, but it's meant for a different purpose. So we don't understand why the money is being used for the sponsorship of Best Teachers Prize, when the law clearly says that you cannot do so. So we decided that we are not going to allow these things to go on. If we don't bring it to the attention that you cannot use our money for that purpose, next time we can use our money for other things, which is not in line with the law. And so we decided that we'll file this for them to know that what they are doing is wrong, and that we are requesting them to tell us how much they spent on the Best Teachers Prize in terms of the amount that they spent on it. And now, talking about the Best Teachers Prize, we moved to the One Teacher, One Laptop project. This is where they use our money to pre-finance the project. So the pre-finance of the laptops was done at the instruction of the GISOP Board of Trustees. Right. But our issue with that is simply that if you are using our money to do these things, the question is, has the government paid it right now? The amount of money that you have invested for government to repay.
That was invested from your funds?
Yes.
Right.
Has the government paid right now? Now, note this, that the government has not paid anything to the account since 2022 March to today. Government has not paid any money to the GISOP Board of Trustees. So as we speak, has government paid that money to them and paid the interest that they are charging on based on the agreement they signed with Ghana Education Service to pre-finance the. So we see this as conflict of interest position, and we call it an incestuous conflict of interest position because some of them doubles as union executives.
You call it what? An incestuous conflict of interest?
Because today you are union executives. Tomorrow you are, I guess, a board of trustee member. You go for a company that you selected yourself.
Which people are you referring to?
Nat Naga CCT executives chose a company themselves and introduced that one to the Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Education awarded that company a contract to produce 280,000 laptops. And when government of Ghana told them that the government is broke and they didn't have money to manufacture the laptops, Then they said, okay, we have money here, so let's use it to pre-finance it. So it seems like anything concerning teachers which does not fit the law, they will use our money to sponsor. And that is for us a huge problem for us because the law clearly states that the Kisop Board of Trustees must invest the money and charge interest on it and give it to the teachers when they retire. That's the basic thing that they have to do. That's all. Beyond that, they are not supposed to do anything beyond that. So basically, that's the point that we are trying to make here.
Again, I'll pose the question about, yes, we heard about these laptops. I recall hearing from the Ministry of Education when this matter came up, and even when some challenges arose and NAT and CCT, GH and NAGRAT raised some concerns. I remember hearing the ministry reacting to some of these and talking about the fact that even in terms of these procurements and the rest, it was your own groupings that came forward with proposals. Yes. But have you interacted with those bodies on this? I don't think you raised any concerns at the time.
About what?
About your funds being used to...
No, we didn't raise any issue about that, but rather...
pre-finance...
No, we didn't raise any issue about that. We didn't raise any issue about that. But when it started with 1, later we moved to 2, then we know that no, more will come up. So we have to step up to do this. So that's the reason why.
In the interim, let me just find out from you. Have all of you, the teachers, at least those who are involved, have they received these laptops?
The teachers know. Those at the primary level have not received it. Most of those at the KG level have not received it. They started distributing it from the SHS level, moved to, JHS level, then they want to move to KG, instead of giving it to those in the primary school. So that's where they want to finish off at.
So you say most of them at the basic level have not got it. Do you have any numbers that you can give us?
Well, they cannot give us numbers. We don't know. Everything is in a very opaque manner.
You are at the basic level, right?
Yeah, we are at the basic level.
Have you got your laptop?
Well, at the time that they distributed, I was at the JHS level. But, we had an issue where we took the matter to court, if you remember. The court dismissed our matter on the basis that we didn't have locus as the union name as a plaintiff in court. If you understand what I mean, because the unions that went to court over the laptop issue were not deducted, were not as an artificial person. You understand? So this is the reason why we appear here as natural persons in our capacity to ask those questions.
I get the point.
Not in the name of a union that may stand a chance of being quashed in court in case the matter ends up in court. So now we are using our name as a natural person, sir.
Right, I get it. But back to my question, did you get a laptop?
Well, I was called by my district officers that they have that, but the principal position that we've taken that the laptop is shrouding a lot of controversy and a whole lot of issues, and for us it's not of good quality, of which many teachers are no more using the laptop. It has developed a lot of faults, and teachers are no more using. Some have given it to their children, others have given it to their wives, some have sold the laptops, a whole lot of issues with it. So
you're saying that the quality of the laptops that were distributed
they are not good.
was at a low level?
Of course. And most of them are, they are breaking down. If you can do your research through the schools, as schools are breaking today, the teachers can tell you. So what we are saying is that it's like anything that concerns teachers that there's no money to do, they will use some money to do it. And government can choose to pay, government can choose not to pay. If government doesn't pay this money, is it not a head cut?
So you, the teachers, will be eventually affected?
Yes, because if you give our money to government because of this laptop project, and for years the government is refusing to pay, that's a haircut.
Let me ask you this question. You didn't take delivery of your laptop. You were alerted to come for it. You didn't go for it.
Yes.
But from your colleagues who have got these laptops, I guess we never really found out. What brand is it?
Well, the brand is not a known brand that all of us are aware of. Does
it have a brand name?
Yes, it's called TM1. We don't know any laptop anywhere in the world called
So
TM1.
what we were told initially, that's just a TM1. That's
TM1, that's all. And it's a locally, like a local company that assembled it or made it up for the teachers. And they don't have any track record in manufacturing of laptops. Yeah.
So how would you, if on a scale of 1 to 10, you had to assess how viable that project has been? Because giving you the teachers laptops is a good thing, right?
It's a good thing.
But in terms of how it's been handled,
only that the quality.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
For me, I will give it 1.
1 over 10?
Yes, because everything connected with this has nothing to do with the teacher. Everything connected with is a matter of making money. From our point of view, that's why we say it. It's just about the money that some people want to make, and that's what they want to use.
Who are these people?
Well, I mean, the whole gamut of persons who, I mean, gathered around this whole laptop thing. I mean, it's for me and the others, it's just a means by which some people can make money through the laptop production, but not really about addressing the need of a teacher in terms of laptop. As we speak today, there are teachers in a classroom who are given HP laptops as head teachers, and as we speak today, the laptops are functioning by donor agencies.
Right.
But when it came to the teachers in the classroom, they rather gave them TM1, which most of them are not functioning now. And
so you mean within this short period?
They are breaking down.
These laptops are already
They are breaking down.
down.
You can go to this. Your reporters are all over the place. They can go to the districts to go and find out what the schools to find out how far these laptops are performing from the SHS level to GHS level, and now at the KG level.
Your colleagues here, did any of them take the laptops?
There are many of them here who have not taken it, but some others I cannot tell. 3 of them I cannot tell. But the first 5, I can say for sure that they didn't take it. But the 6, 7, 8 persons on this list, I do not know about that. I have not asked them anyone.
All right. Let's move the conversation forward. So now that you filed this request, what are your expectations? I want us to talk briefly about 2 other subjects, very briefly. But just to wrap on this, what are your expectations?
Well, expectation is that the optics concern this GISOP thing as being opaque, that you use that word opaque, doesn't give a good optics about how the thing is performing. And we have a lot of our teachers who have retired and virtually crying every day because they were not given much in terms of their lump sum. The question is, if tomorrow these teachers come together in a class action and ask the GISOP board to tell them the reason why they were entitled to X amount of money and not Y amount of money or P amount of money, what would they say? You understand my point? And so it is important that when they want the teachers to believe them and trust what they are doing, I mean, as in the best interest of the teachers who are young and those who are about to retire, everybody will be happy with it. And so we expect them to deliver on the request we are making, and not be adamant about, you know, giving.
And we'll pursue this matter, especially when there is any response to this RTI request. Sometimes requests are put through. There are requests that have been put through even by our media organization, and sometimes there are quite a number of bottlenecks. But to wrap the conversation, so free SHS and a likely review, as well as the confirmation of the new GES boss. What is your take on these 2 matters?
Well, let's start with free SHS. That I think that over the years, even the finance minister came out to say that those who can pay should pay. And I think that should be the policy that must guide the government moving forward.
Those who can pay should pay.
Of course. I mean, we have been boxed in a tight economic corner, and we have to throw in the towel and surrender that at this moment in time, leaving free SHS the way it is, it's a luxury the country cannot afford moving to the future. The idea of if you make those who can pay and those who cannot pay, as in giving them scholarship, as discriminatory, is neither here nor there. Nobody, no country feeds boarding school students apart from what you have here. And again, we should not be looking at free SHS from the context of just funding, but we should see or look at it from the point of view of how we can situate the skill development of these children so that when they leave that place, they can compete with their counterparts in Asia and other places. For me, that's the most important aspect of it, because if you reduce everything to funding funds, as in feeding and other things, you run the risk of having a situation where you are giving people schooling and a little of education. And for me, that's what we are doing in Ghana.
We're giving people schooling,
a lot of schooling, yes.
But not...
The education is limited based on the relevance of the 21st century. Because the skills that students in other countries ought to have to meet the demands of today is not what we are doing here. Ours is still steeped in the colonial era kind of education. And that, of course.
We've been talking about moving away from the Gettysburg economy. So maybe we should also move away from the Gettysburg educational systems.
Of course. It starts with the education system. It's the educational system that transformed China. The Singaporean, miracle couldn't have taken place without education. Relevant education. You can have education, but ask yourself, is that relevant? If you are teaching children or students how to make typewriter with the best of equipment, that is quality typewriting education. What's the relevance of that today? It's not relevant. They won't take it anywhere because nobody used typewriters.
So you say we are having what? Versus
we are having a lot of schooling.
Schooling? But you're going to school?
Yes, we're going to school. Chew, pour, pass. Forget about what you've learned. Just get a certificate. That is the reason why our economy has been dominated by foreigners. That's the reason why after so many years of independence, we cannot add value to our cocoa, our gold. Everything has been dominated by foreigners.
The final point, the GES boss.
Yeah.
Do you have any issues with that?
Well, we as innovative teachers didn't have any issue with him having been appointed. The issue is that National University went on strike because of his appointment, pointing out that he's not a teacher or he's not a known educationist. But our point of view was that both the professors from KUST or Legon or from UCC or Winneba, who sometimes become GES bosses, are also viewed as outsiders because they are not GES staff. Right. They are somewhere else. These professors would never teach in KG. These professors will never teach in primary school. They will never teach in GHS. They will never teach in SHS. But when they come to GES top job, they run for that one. What is there at the top that they want that those of us should mark time at the GES ranks so that we'll never get there? They will come from somewhere to take the same mentor.
But you say from somewhere. And they are part of the educational system. At the tertiary level, they are part of the educational system.
I get that, but they are not part of GES. So we also see them as outsiders. Right. Just like Professor Dr. Nkansa, the new GES.
So you have no problem with him. But
we don't. If he can do things that will impress teachers and solve their problems for us, what's the problem? Okay. If he can do things that solve problems of teachers, the teachers are looking for solutions. And if somebody who has come to deliver the solution is available, why not? That's what the teachers want. And for me, there are a lot of issues the teachers want to see being attended to.
Okay.
And part of it has to do with the fact that the teachers have promotional issues. Some have, in fact, 104 teachers went to court to secure a judgment debt of their legacy arrears, which have not been paid by government since 2011, 2016. And the government is defaulting in paying them. It's a shame. He must address that issue and make sure that the others who couldn't get money to go to court get their money from the government through a validation exercise. For me, he has a lot of work to do. The teachers, the mass of the teachers are the judges or will be the judges of his work, and not union executives who, for what we call their parochial interests, announced strike, and it didn't change anything much about.
Mr. Desu, we'll have to wrap the conversation here. I also noticed that there is a message coming through from one Francis Sapong. Just to let you know, we've seen your message. You say there is some serious fighting going on somewhere. I don't want to give out the details because we cannot substantiate the information you're putting out, but Francis will follow up on that information. You say the police is there and some action is going on. That's how we wrap the conversation we've been having with Stephen Desu, convener, Innovative Teachers. They want their pension funds. They want details of that and how it is being managed. But before we take a breather and come and wrap the conversation, water is life. It regulates your body temperature, keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions, 330 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We have introduced our special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So come on, grab a bottle of Awake and get quality hydration. It's one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casapreco. For bulk purchases, just call 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. Stay. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. Time now to get interactive with you. We can squeeze in just about 2 calls, and so we'll do that now. The number to call 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. While I wait for your call, the Ghana Revenue Authority wishes to inform the public that persons wishing to apply for tax clearance certificates should do so online or download the Ghana Taxpayers app on Google Play Store or the App Store. Applicants who visit the Taxpayer Service Centers will be assisted by officers of the authority to apply. Applicants are also required to indicate the taxpayer identification number, that's the TIN, of the institution organization requesting the certificate so that they can receive a copy. Applicants should take note and be guided accordingly. Kindly contact GRS toll free 0800 900 110 or via these WhatsApp numbers 055 299 0000 or 020 0631664, or you can send an email to taxpayersportal.com for further enquiries. And also the GRA wants you to know, especially if you have registered for value-added tax, that's VAT, that the Domestic Tax Revenue Division has commenced the implementation of the electronic invoicing system of VAT, referred to as EVAT. Now, this involves integrating the invoicing systems of VAT registered taxpayers to the Commissioner General's invoicing system. Kindly contact GRA toll free, once again, 0800 900 110 or via these WhatsApp numbers 055 299 0000 or 020 063 1664. So I'll take your calls if there are any coming through. If not, we quickly wrap up the show here on AM. All right, so this morning, here's what we've been bringing you. We had an interaction with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, a statesman, and he's been assessing President Akakpo, who has just begun the 3rd year of his 2nd term. Also, we've been speaking to some teachers who have concerns with some contributions they've been making towards their pensions and what is being invested in. And basically, that's it by way of our show today. Thank you so much for your company. It's been a real pleasure serving you this morning. From Benjamin and I and the team, we wish you the very best of the rest of the day. God willing, tomorrow morning we are back with more here on the AM show. You know, it's the show that puts you at the heart of everything. So do make a date with us tomorrow. God willing, we can have more time to get interactive with you tomorrow. And until then, you stay with us. The News Next show is up next.